Morning guys.
As part of the series, we're going to be following my journey as I learned to convert my 2006 Toyota Hiace Commuter into a fully off-grid camper van.
So the plan is to have a sort of stained wood look on the ceiling and also on the window sills, like window frames. So I bought some kind of I think it's like a this kind of dark brown varnish. We just got one of the testers, and this is just on pine. And what we're doing is basically testing different combinations of how long we leave it, different types of application, that sort of thing, just so that we can. So this is, I guess, sort of the normal color. This is leaving it on for about 30 seconds, then giving it a wipe. This I think was no wipe, but we sort of can see the brush strokes, so it might have been an issue with how we applied it. We're doing some sort of longer tests here. So this has been on, this was on for 10 minutes, got wiped, and then has done a second coat. This is just quite generous application that's been left for 10 minutes, that is currently being left for 10 minutes, and then will be wiped. And then this is just sort of normal brush application, but isn't going to be wiped, and we'll leave that for an indefinite amount of time. We want quite a dark look, so for example this one on the left is too light for us. Bear in mind it's going to be against the white wall, so we want something sort of closer to that second colour, that darker colour, but we just wanted to test it out. It's always good to do this with stains, because you never really know how they're going to turn out otherwise. And worst case scenario, you can always get a different one. So that's why you get these little sort of tester kits, and then you can test it. And supposedly it comes out different on every type of wood. So we're just trying to be consistent. Everything's pine, just to make it nice and easy. And yeah, this is the bulkhead. As you probably saw before, I left it pretty rough around the edges because the idea was that we were going to frame out with a nice sort of stained pine. I've just cut this out here. This is going to form the base. I've done it so that it looks kind of like a windowsill, comes beyond the edges. The rest of them are going to be flush with the wall. So my next step, now that this fits pretty well, just make sure it's nice and snug, and then I'm going to cut the sides, do the top. That we've done. Then it's tackling the windows. The way that I'm doing it is having a sort of a pine frame that's going to be flush with the wall that lines each of the windows. So I've kind of done it here. There's obviously loads of dust on the window still, but essentially it's just really simple. I've done this so that it's parallel with the floor. The wall then curves, so then I've measured the top and the bottom first and tried to make them as flush as possible. This top piece is not parallel, so and the wall comes out, so basically had to cut an angle here with the miter saw, slowly get that to fit up there, do it on both sides. It's not a square window, so it was different dimensions at each section, and then basically just once I'd got the pieces done, I sort of just mapped them to the wall, cut them down with jigsaw, sanded them, and yeah, it's not glued in or screwed or anything like that, because I'm going to stain it still. But that one's done. I've also done the cylinder bulkhead, just looking really nice. This sort of windowsill type thing on the front, which I'm actually really happy with. Again, this is still loose, so that needs to be glued and stained and glued. Started on this one. As you can see, this is sort of only got the bottom piece in now. Got the top piece about to go in, and then I've got to work out the angle on the bottom. And then this is going to be the real challenge. It's quite a lot bigger, and you've got this sort of weird two-step angle. So I'm not sure how that will end up looking, but we'll we'll see how it goes. So this is the staining station. We've learned a bit about the stains since last time we filmed. Basically, this one we were using was a stain and varnish, that kind of 2-in-1 type thing. What we found is actually really hard to get a good finish. You end up with things like this, which have a sort of brush. You either have like a brush stroke, or if you apply it with a cloth, you end up with it just doesn't seep in very much. So we went out and we did a bit of research and found that you want a spirit only. So something like this. Basically a spirit-based stain, and it seeps into the wood way easier. You do it with a cloth, it dries really quickly. It's great. We unfortunately got a bit of the wrong colour. I don't know if you saw all the samples they had used a wood that gave a kind of red warm finish, but with pine it actually comes out really black. So we still haven't decided on what one we're going to go with. We've been trying a few combos to get it a bit warmer, but essentially we want kind of a halfway point between here and here. So another trip to Bunnings is on the cards to get that sorted, but that's why you do all these tests, just to make sure you're really happy with everything and that you can apply it over long lengths to make sure it's consistent.
So we had a bit of problems with the stain that we were using. We tried a couple of different ones, weren't really happy. We started too light, and we had when we were using this sort of stain and varnish, really weren't happy with the finish. So then we went for this sort of spirit only based stain, but the one we went with ended up being way too dark. So I went back to Bunnings last night and I found one that ended up being perfect. We went with, what was it? The walnut colour of this. I'm not sure if you can see it, but yeah, there you go. The Feast and Watson spirit-based interior stain walnut. And anyway, I stained all the wood last night from the windows that I'd done, and really happy with the result. So as you can see, it's made the pine look really nice. It's really brought out the grain of the wood. And so these are for the 3 little windows. I'm still working on this window, so I haven't quite started doing the staining yet. But whereas with the ceiling, we're just going to go with a stain, nothing else. That'll be fine. With things like windowsills and that kind of thing, it's going to come into contact with things. People might put glasses on it, whatever. So you need to put a clear coat on. I chatted to the lady in Bunnings, and basically there's loads of ones you can do, but they actually have this clear varnish spray, and it's way cheaper than everything else, and actually is, like, to be honest, it's easier to apply and it has the same product. So going to use that. So I'm just going to do a quick spray of them now. It takes about 5 hours to dry. Now guys, I just want to give you a really good demonstration of why it's worth testing your stains and varnishes before you do your final thing. So the one on the left is the one we started with, which is the stain and varnish sort of 2-in-1. As you can see, it's sort of, you either apply it really thickly and you get these kind of brush stroke type marks, which really wasn't good because it's quite thick and viscous, or it comes out super light once you start wiping it down, which is what you're meant to do. So it kind of ends up that golden colour, but almost like a dirty colour. So then we went with this one, thinking that in the picture it looked really nice, like deep red black, but actually it just came out black. So you either ended up with this super dark version on the left, or if you tried to apply it lightly, you just end up with this sort of, I don't know, dirty black or a grey almost. So then went back yesterday, and great thing about Bunnings is they have testers for a lot of the stains that they have. So I tried a couple of different ones. This is called Japan Brown. That was too dark. I think that was teak or something, and we ended up going for this walnut, which is this sort of like reddy brown. But yeah, a bit of trial and error, but it really shows you hopefully the importance of doing it. They're super helpful at Bunnings. And I guess another thing to add as well, when you're doing your clear coats, depending on the finish you want, make sure you work out whether you want glossy or matte. In our case, we really like the matte finish, but you can kind of ruin it if you put gloss on without realizing, because it will make it super shiny. Yeah, I'll show you the installation of the windows later, plus the application of the clear coat. So I've just read that this needs 4 coats and takes 6 hours to dry for every coat. Okay, first coat done. As always, probably didn't do it right, but gonna let it dry, and then come back to this in about 6 hours.
6 hours later.
So first coat of first coat of clear coat is done. Then instructs you to sand it down with a high grit. So I'm going for 240 grit sandpaper on the orbital sander. Going to sand them all down quickly and then do the next coat of varnish.